Greetings, I'm Mark with Unlimited Story, a channel dedicated to writing, world building, marketing, and most importantly, getting things done. If that's interesting to you, consider subscribing or at least checking out my website, unlimited-story.com. In this video, I had a wonderful chat with Rebecca Zanetti, and we covered basically everything there is to talk about with Kindle Vella. So if that's what you want to listen to, sit tight. It's actually a pretty long video, but I promise you, it is really good. So, sit tight. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am joined with Rebecca Zanetti. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
I am doing pretty great. And if you guys don't know, Rebecca is, she's worked on 40 books. She's already got 40 books under her belt, and she is absolutely dominating the Kindle Vella platform. She has been top trending and just basically top favored throughout basically the beginning of Kindle Vella right out of the gate. And she's not even a favorite author, which still blows us away. But we haven't quite figured out that dynamic at all. But whatever the case, welcome, Rebecca. You ready to get this started?
You bet.
All right. So let's first start talking about your book. You released it right out of the gate with essentially no idea that the platform was even coming out. What kind of happened in that first day?
I think like a lot of people, I had no clue that the platform was going live. Kindle said that it would go live in mid-July. And so I thought that meant September, to be honest. And then we did get a letter, I think the week before saying, we're going live. And I just didn't pay any attention to it. Then I turned around and the book was live. And I'm like, oh, we better do something. So, time to market. So we did do a couple of social media posts, and that was it. I just, all of a sudden we went from, thinking about something was going to happen to, hey, the whole system's live. So I think it was a surprise for everybody.
Yeah, surprise marketing. There's nothing like surprise marketing to make you work really fast. It's kind of like when your parents are coming to visit and you're like, time to clean the house, right?
Right.
So let's see here. You have been really killing it throughout this whole process. What do you think it is that's really helping you out, that's making this work so well? I mean, obviously you're an established author, but you actually mentioned that like 25% of your readers are like completely new. So care to go into that?
You bet. So, whenever you release a new series or a new book, I think there are three main goals. And the first is to entertain your current fan base and yourself. I mean, you have to be into and enjoying what you're writing, or it comes through in the writing. So that's always your
Very true.
first goal. Yeah. And then your second goal is to enlarge your readership. You always want to get those new readers, and everybody wants to do that, even Stephen King.
Mhm.
And so that's the second goal. And the third goal is, of course, to make some money. And so with the second goal in this one, I've been receiving a lot of fan emails, and at least 25% are people who are saying, hey, I've never read you before. I like this book. I'm going to go check out your other books. So this is a success for me just based on that.
And that's huge. And I know that, my mom tells me this because my mom reads a ton of books, that if she likes an author, she'll just straight up and start reading all their books. So that's a great opportunity, because yes, this is like a doorway. They get into the initial one, and then they find out like you have all these other books that they can check out, through whenever they want. But it's just interesting because this is a brand new platform. So brand new types of readers. We don't really have a demographic on them, but we know that they're checking out this platform, and it's unique. It's not a library. It's not. I mean, it's Kindle Vella. It's not Kindle. It's a completely new system and a completely new way of enjoying content, right?
Yeah, and I think the author notes at the end of each episode is something we haven't been able to do before, or at least I haven't. I haven't tried a serialized platform, and so that's something new. And I think readers enjoy that. They like that insight into, what went into this chapter, or where you were when you were writing it. So I think that that's been something new for me that has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I know we talked about it before that, it breaks immersion. And at the same
Mhm.
time, it also gives you that little bit of like, you almost know the author better than before. Yes, when we're writing our books, we're putting ourselves into our content. Uh, but you don't really know what, this is one of those few opportunities to be like, I named this because, or I did this because it just reminded me of XYZ person. So yeah, it is a really, I didn't think much of it at first. I was like, oh, this isn't gonna,
Mhm.
I mean, why would I put anything? And the more I thought about it, it's like, man, when I talk to my actual readers, like face to face, they're always like so much more intrigued by the story behind the story. Like, you're just talking to authors in general, like why they wrote a story, it comes across as so interesting, as opposed to even just, it makes you want to pick up that story that much more.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's so true. And the other thing you could do that, I don't think most of us have thought about, but you could also lead into the next chapter.
Yep.
In those comments, you could kind of tease the next chapter without teasing it too much. That, just to keep things interesting, keep them turning those pages.
I mean, of course, there's foreshadowing that you do in your chapters, but
Mhm.
you can just, kind of just dig it in a little bit more, be like, hey, just so you know, this next chapter is really great.
Yeah.
Or I can't wait to, I couldn't wait to do this one thing. So one thing that we've been discussing is front loading chapters versus doing the actual, what the platform's supposed to be for, episodic releases.
Mhm.
What we've seen so far on the platform is that front loading is working out great. You released everything like for your entire book right out of the gate, and I mean, clearly it's working pretty well. Uh, but what we're really interested in seeing is kind of how that works out in the long term, right? Because we've talked before about how you can give your little crown or whatever
Yeah.
once per week. So how does that play out for people who kind of a long-term strategy where they're going to be releasing on those weeks or whenever a crown is released?
Yeah, I think strategically that's the way to do it is, release maybe 4 or 5 episodes a week and keep those crowns coming.
Mhm.
In my case, the whole book's up. So a reader reads the whole book, gives the crown, and then moves on to another book next week. So no crown. But that, if you look at Kindle Vella in a bigger picture, that's probably a good thing because you want to spread that around a little bit. You want to, get a lot of people noticed and get the platform moving quickly. So I don't
So
know.
are you
Yeah,
telling me you might lose your crown? It
I
looks
would
really
assume so.
nice.
Yeah, it's nice having the crown. I would assume that somebody else is going to knock me off. Probably, within a week because I don't have any more content to put up.
Mhm.
But I seem to be trending, so I'm getting new readers.
Mhm.
So I'm watching a couple of authors,
Mhm.
and I'm really curious when they do upload more chapters, what's going to happen. So we'll see. I've been there for a while. I'm happy. It's good. I got the screenshot. So
Mhm.
I'd like to see who's next. I'm curious.
And yes, absolutely. It's just the way that information is working on this platform, because I made a marketing video on this based on my marketing experience. I've been doing marketing for a decade, and a lot of the rules that I figured that would work just aren't really applying, because we were told this episodic thing, but front loading appears to be working, which makes a lot of sense because people love to binge. um like again, a TV show, for example, Netflix would just let out an entire season, you could just binge it all and then never think about it again. But we have this really unique opportunity with episodic, which is kind of like what Disney Plus and Amazon Prime do, where they release on a weekly schedule, and then they're able to, you have that break where you actually get to think, right? Instead of just, I don't want to say mindlessly, but you just blow through everything. You can actually think about the chapters and be like, oh, well, I wonder what happens next. And it's really neat because you get the opportunity to engage with other fans who may be watching a show with you or reading something with you, and you can actually discuss, be like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. The story becomes, you kind of become involved, right? There's more thought behind it.
Yeah, which I think is fun. And I think you bring up a good point too. It may be the kind of content um, varies in how you should upload it. So if you do what I did and you have a book,
Mhm.
upload the whole thing. But if you're writing more of a TV series, it may be better to release, one or two a week. And those are two different formats of books.
Mhm.
So if I did write like a TV series, I think I would try it with releasing one or two a week and see what happens. It'd probably be a lot of fun.
Well, and this seems like the platform to really experiment with, right? Like it just seems like such an open space where established writers and new writers can just kind of throw stuff on there that they don't know if it's going to work. Be like, well, let's just try it out. I mean, I've written something that's 3 chapters and said it was done because I was happy with it and it achieved the stuff I want. But you may decide that the next, if you're continuing your current story, um, do you want to release it on a weekly? Do you instead of all at once? It's a good opportunity to just kind of see what your readers say, and it's great to get feedback. We love to get feedback from readers. I love hearing from them, just seeing, kind of going along the ride with them.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually have gotten a lot of feedback from both my street team and then in these fan emails that have been coming in. And the feedback I've received overwhelmingly is they'd like to be able to binge. Um, just telling, and they also like longer episodes. Those are the two questions I've kind of put out there is, do you want to binge or do you want, or do you want it really slowly? And do you want larger or smaller chapters? And overwhelmingly, it's been give me the whole thing and longer chapters are better.
Give
So
it to me,
there's
give it
my
to me
data. That's
now,
what
and
I've
give it to
learned.
me like huge. It's really, I want
Big.
5,000 and just all.
Yep.
Well, and
And
that,
that's the data. Go ahead.
well, I'm just saying, like,
The-
it helps to know what your readers want too, because some people may prefer, some readers may prefer shorter chapters, and
Mhm.
others just, because maybe they only have half an hour breaks or something like that. And other people just like to curl up on their bed for 3 hours and just go till whatever forsaken time in the morning.
Well, I agree. And I did get an email from a new mom who said, hey, shorter the better. I only have this much time. But
Mhm.
the other 98% were differently. However, I think people are still learning what the tokens mean. Like they don't understand that tokens are completely based on word count. So you're not
Mhm.
paying more for a shorter chapter
Mhm.
and getting more for your money with a longer chapter. It's
Yep.
only based
It's
on
just
word count.
proportional. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I
Mhm.
think that's part of it too. They haven't looked at that. And all of my data is just what I've looked at myself. I don't have any inner knowledge. I've been asked if, I'm a seed author
Mhm. Mhm.
or if Amazon asked me to write for Vella. And
Mhm.
Amazon did not ask me to write for Vella. I would have loved it had they. But I think that you could kind of look at the marketing and know that they didn't really hire anybody to write for Vella. Otherwise, there would have been a huge marketing, come look at Dean Koontz book only on Kindle Vella. So that
Exactly.
hasn't happened yet. I think it probably will happen down
It
the road, but
probably will. Yep.
yeah, but it hasn't happened yet. So just to set that straight.
I mean, it's been pretty clear, and from the authors I've talked to, like the featured authors, ooh. I've
No
talked to
clue.
established authors, I've talked to new authors. I mean, you got me. I don't know. Maybe to me, it's almost like you're weighing the lottery, because that is a great featured space, and we know that being featured or having, your information in the right place at the right time is incredibly important. Like it's absolutely super important, because if nobody knows about it, then how can they ever read it? How can they ever see it?
Exactly. And believe me, I've wondered too, what, who, how, who's choosing?
What's
Is
the
it
deciding
random?
factor? Yep.
And we all have theories and nobody knows. So
I bet the guy who's working on the platform knows, and he's just sitting there laughing as everyone's theorizing.
probably.
One thing I really want to talk about is the tagging system, because it is I don't want to say infuriating, but it's definitely confusing. And I just don't know. So we're given 7 tags. Obviously, you have dominated the romance tag, and that works out really well for you. What I'm really curious about is the tags that we have to work with, though, because there is the we're told to just put in whatever tags we want. So, one of my stories is about ninjas and pirates. So I put in ninjas and pirates. And when I search for it on Kindle Vella, it doesn't show up, or it does not show up very high, because the actual search function isn't based off of the tags, it's based off of the title, not even the description. Well, the description doesn't show up in the search. But the tags are used by the system, and you just basically, they have all these predetermined tags. Let's say there's 25 of them or so, and that's what you work off of. And everyone appears to just be like picking the most popular ones because that's what's working.
Yeah, and there's no guidance. So with my tags, I just randomly pick tags. I'm like, well, it's paranormal, it's shifter, it's romance. So
Mhm.
I didn't know. Um, and even when you go up and you click on, one of the tags, I'm not sure all the books with that tag are coming up. So I imagine that's something with this kind of beta rollout that they'll tweak and fix and make it. I mean, I assume,
We hope
but
so.
yeah, I hope so. Yeah, because I didn't know what to put. I just put what categories I'm usually in on
Mhm.
Amazon, and that seemed to work.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's interesting. That's one of those things that I hope they clear up.
Yeah, or again, guidance would be the best. The ultimate goal and hope is that Amazon reaches out to not only the readers but the authors to ask them about their experience. I guess you said there's a contact us button, so we can just be like, hey, so here's our problems.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of your dashboard. It just said
Okay.
contact us. So yeah, I
Hey,
mean, I just saw it.
I just found out about that we get the reports. I didn't realize that the actual reports for Vela are under the new beta dashboard as opposed to the normal dashboard we use. So I'm learning stuff every day. One thing I want to ask, what is you said that this new growth already is considered a success to you. This the new readership that you have. So what would kind of be your next step? Where do you see yourself going with this platform? Like creating just some new content that you never tried before? Do you want to keep going with this story?
It's too early to tell. It's only been a week, so I'd like to see how this shakes out for the next month or so. I do think writing like a TV style, episodic show would be fun. I don't, I can't really fit that into my schedule right now. So we'll see. I know that, if you think about it, Amazon gave 200 free tokens to everybody to bring them to the platform, which
Mhm.
completely makes sense.
Mhm.
But half of free is free. And so a lot of people use those tokens on my book,
Mhm.
which is great. And then they bought tokens. And so I'm really curious about this launching bonus that they talk about if you look in the Kindle Vella, the sheet online, there's
Mhm.
a launching bonus that's based on engagement. But that's all it says.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty curious about that.
I mean, there is an extremely low barrier of entry for both the readers and the writers. Of course, there is the first 3 chapters that are free, um,
Mhm.
just because, and then you're getting all these additional tokens, and then so you may be a couple chapters in before you're paying for anything, which in many ways is great.
Mhm.
But also, if you look at the cost per chapter, the actual breakdown for like a full length book, the reader is actually paying more, and therefore the author is making more. So once they kind of transition through all this free stuff, I guess is what I'll call it, I guess it's better for the author.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I,
I
I'm,
think you make
I'm,
a great point that it's more how
yeah,
it shakes out in the end.
yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna shake out with the tokens. I'm new to anything like this, so
Yeah.
um, and you also have to compare. If you're just looking at money, which you need to look at more than money, but
Yeah.
um, if you would have just self indie pub the book versus
Mhm.
this platform, what makes more sense?
Yeah, and that's a decision for you too. And I think just like anything, like a healthy mix is really
Mhm.
important. And sometimes you want to try other stuff. And let's say you publish all the time. Sometimes it's not too bad to just take a break and be like, I want to make something. I just want to throw it out here, completely out of my normal whatever, because the production level that you have to go through for this is not the same. You have to design a full cover. You don't have to worry about text free flow. You don't have to worry about, chapter breaks. It's just, it's so simple to just copy and paste something you wrote and proofread, right? Because proofreading is important. But it went through the process and you just paste it on there and say, this is great. And in the notes, you can tell the reader whatever you want. It's just stuff that it's not, it's not the same that we're used to with our traditional books.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing, in doing that, what I've learned through 10 years in this business is there nobody can market you like you could market yourself. Your writing is the best marketing you have for your next book, period, no
Mhm.
matter what. If you had $1 million to spend on marketing your book, and they'd buy it, but if they don't like the book, they're not going to buy the next book, even if you spend another $1 million.
Mhm.
So being able to get content out there like that could be very beneficial overall.
Mhm. And just being able to reach people. We know, and this is like marketing 101, it costs that much more to create a new customer, but to retain a customer is significantly less. So yeah, once they become aware of your existence and they basically like what you have, then they can continue on. And again, it's a great opportunity, again, to touch base with a whole new readership. And my estimate, which could be totally inaccurate, but my estimate is that a lot of these readers are younger. This is something that this may be one of their first times really trying out reading on like a digital platform.
That was my thought initially. I mean, that's one of the reasons I put the books in Kindle Vella was to
Mhm.
hit a new demographic and a younger demographic. So that was what I was thinking as well. I don't know that we have any data yet,
I am
but
certain we don't have data on that.
I but I do agree. 90% of my books are traditionally published.
Mhm.
I've just started indie publishing maybe a book a year
Mhm.
to kind of explore a little bit. And so this was a good avenue to try that and reach that different younger demographic. So I'm really curious. I wish I could see the numbers on that.
Well, and I think a part of it is, the people who already use the Kindle platform, they're established, they have their Kindle Unlimited membership and all that jazz. Are they the same people who are going to be using this platform? Or are we looking at people who, I mean, if there's a whole new app they have to get, or, I mean, because right now, like I just throw up my laptop because you can experience it right through the browser and it works pretty good. It seems
Mhm.
to, it seems to flow fine, load quickly. So it seems like it's fine, but I'm really curious what information is going to come out on that.
Yeah, me too. Because you can also know what stories are gonna, what platform, what the way they're structured. Do
Mhm.
they really want shorter chapters, longer chapters? If
Mhm.
it's a 20-year-old on the go, maybe shorter chapters is the way to go. I mean, you just don't know yet. So,
Well,
and that's kind of fun.
it is, and in this very, because again, it's only been out a week. It's a great opportunity for us to just, to try a lot and feel things out, and everyone's learning all together. I'd say the one thing that we're able to kind of get an idea of what the reader looks like, or the stereotypical one, or whatever the case is, kind of guess where everyone is based on the popularity of certain tags, right? Because certain tags are clearly more popular than others. And perfect question, Rebecca. What would you say if you had to break down your standard reader? What would he or she look like?
It depends. I actually we did a bunch of research a couple years ago, and I have two distinct fan bases. One
Okay.
is the paranormal romance, and
Mhm.
one is suspense, romantic
Okay.
suspense. And they're it's it doesn't really tell us a lot, but the age frame's 25 to up. And then the paranormal romance is probably 70% women, 30% men, and it's more even on the suspense side.
Okay.
And so I don't think I have that younger, that 20 to 25 range. And so I thought something like Kindle Vella would be it. And so I don't, it's hard to know. The real active people on my street team are, women, and they range from 25 to 70, and they're a lot of fun. But I still think this is a different demographic, but I could be wrong. I mean, who knows?
I mean, this is all speculation. I mean, and whatever the case, it's not like when you write something, you say, I need to get this demographic, because that's not the purpose. Because primarily when we're writing, we're doing it for ourselves, kind of like it's the selfish thing. Because if you can't write it for yourself and can't enjoy it, then you're never going to get to the other steps, because you just won't finish, or you'll just be kind of miserable.
Exactly. I tell new writers, like when they're reading through their book, that part they skip, get rid of it, because everybody's going to skip it. And so no, these two books, right? Yeah, get rid of it, because everyone's going to skip it. But these books that I'd already written, and I liked them, and I was just looking for a way to get them out there, and this was the way to do it. But you're right, the editorial has to be what you want, regardless of demographic, or it's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you can say, oh, I'm going to make this for XYZ demographic, age, gender, location, whatever. But if you're really thinking about it that much, and you're worried about stepping on people's toes with, oh, well, if I put this in, this type of person won't enjoy it. That's why you do beta readings. And you go through the whole beta reading process. You try to get a nice diverse group of people, and you see what their feedback is. And yes, you're never going to please anyone. I don't even like 100% of what I write, but you do it, and you're like, is this true to your character? Is this true to the story? Be like, well, this is actually what would happen. Like, you run the simulation in your mind and say, this is what would happen. So yeah. I think we're done. Is there anything else? I feel like we just nailed down every point really cleanly. So
I think so. Well, one thing about what I've noticed with the numbers for, I know a lot of authors watch your in channel or podcast. Is it the same thing? I want to ask you.
I mean, it's a channel. I mean,
okay.
I don't know. To me, this is a podcast. I could take away the video. You're never going to see my cool headphones, your makeup, and people will be just as informed.
Okay. So I wasn't sure. So anyway, I assume, a lot of authors watch your channel, and I'm sure a lot of Kindle Vella authors are going to do that. So one thing about the numbers that really I've thought is interesting is, the thumbs up, the likes. A lot of readers are reading the entire book, but only liking every few chapters or at the end. They're not hitting that button every time. So you're going to end up with, at least I have, 5 times the episode reads than the likes. So if you're looking at, so in other words, if you're not getting a bunch of likes, don't worry too much about it. Look at your episode reads. And then also, if you're, looking at somebody who may not have a bunch of likes, but they're really trending, they're getting a lot of reads, and people just they're not clicking that yet. So that's one thing I've noticed that is weird. The other thing that's really weird is some people skip right to the end of the book. Like, you look at the reads for you look at the reads for, you can break it down and see the reads for each episode, each chapter. I'm like, hey, somebody just went right to the end.
Right to the end.
Which is, it's pretty cool to be able to see that. Right?
You're absolutely right. And I'll even go back to just talking about beta reads for a hot second, because with the beta reads, you get to see when, they fill out their surveys or whatever, and you get to experience it with them. And could you just imagine getting a beta read and be like, so here's your last chapter, and be like, and everything else? You just skipped. That's I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I guess you could. But then you got to pay for everything. Just you're paying for every chapter along the way.
I don't know, but the other really weird thing is I have one chapter that I apparently just forgot to name. You know how you can name your
Yep.
episodes, and that one has a higher, it says episode, like whatever the number is, and that one has a higher read as well. It's like, people, why didn't she name this? And so they went and read it.
I'm gonna read this over again, see if I missed anything.
Yeah.
Like,
So anyway,
the analytics behind this is just really interesting, and it's something that we're not getting with our other books, right? Because like, even if it's a Kindle book, I mean, you know, like the percentage that they read if you broke down per reader, but really, who's doing that? You know, if you're selling 100 books a year, 2,000, or even 10, it's like, well, I mean, they started reading it and fine. But in this situation, I guess you can look and be like, oh, well, I guess you can really dig in there.
I know, and I've never had access to any of that, so I was looking through, going, wait a minute, that's interesting. So it was kind of fun to be able to see that.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped. I'm really excited to see what's going to be happening with this platform and kind of what else we're going to be able to get. It's all new. Again, it's beta, so my qualms with it may be alleviated. I'm just hoping that they'll be able to make changes that'll positively help the readers and the authors, and that this can be a success, and we can keep making whatever we want, really, because we kind of got free range.
I know, I agree. As soon as I'm under deadline now, but as soon as I'm finished, I can't wait to go play and read everything on there. I'm really looking forward to it. So, and I'm going to look at your book for sure. We talked about it earlier, and I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, and here's the thing too. It's been neat because okay, so I've been interviewing some authors, and it gives me such a great opportunity to just pick up just so I can talk to you guys and figure out, like, okay, this is what it's about, and explore stuff. Okay, you are the second romance book I have ever even touched in my life. Okay, and I started reading, and I was like, oh, so this is what it's like. And then I'm comparing your style with other ones. I'm like, okay, so she makes these, like I was reading the first interaction with Mia, right? Mia or Maya, and Volk, and I'm like, oh, the sentences are very short. Like compared to what I would write, I would say like this something something. I there's way too many commas or whatever. But you the way you talk about something, you state it. You're like, his hair is dark. It's just simple. That is it. And I'm just like, and then it makes you think, like, why does she do that? And then I'm comparing perspectives, because the other romance book was written in first person while yours is in third. And so I see the differences, and it's such a great opportunity for someone to get their feet wet in all these genres they would have never even considered touching or looking at, and just being able to experiment and learn. So I think it's great just for that, at a bare minimum.
I agree. I do. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's close this out. So I guess we'll just say thank you. Information about Rebecca's book is going to be in the description below, as well as her website and any other thing that you would like to know about her. Put comments in, whatever. I'll have my stuff down there too. Thank you very much. And thank you, Rebecca, for sitting down with me.
You bet. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
You betcha. Take care. See you. And that was my chat with Rebecca. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video. If you could, please consider subscribing, or at least watching another one of my videos that YouTube recommends. If you like this kind of stuff, please let me know and I'll make more of it. Other than that, peace.